Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's an honor to be here. As you've heard, I'm deafblind. I have limited vision and hearing. Public speaking is actually easy when you can't see the audience. But actually connecting with people is really important to me. So all throughout my life, I've been developing ways to connect with people. Everyone is social. Everybody needs to feel connected. So for this talk, here's what I'm doing. I'm holding up a Braille computer. On the bottom are dots, and I run my fingers over the dots to feel the letters. My interpreter is on stage typing on a wireless keyboard, and what she types shows up in Braille. So throughout this talk, she will be giving me descriptions so I can stay connected to the audience. If people smile, laugh, fall asleep, she's watching you. My name is Haben Girma. The name Haben comes from Eritrea. It's a small African country. Ethiopia borders to the south, and to the north is the Red Sea. In the language of Tigrinya, spoken in Eritrea and Ethiopia, Haben means pride. A lot of people are ashamed of their disabilities, ashamed of their differences, and that's not helpful. We need to move past disability shame and create a culture with disability pride. As the daughter of refugees, a Black woman, disabled, lots of stories say my life doesn't matter. I choose to resist those stories. I believe disability is an opportunity for innovation. If you face a challenge, you can come up with a solution. I can't see what the audience is doing, but I've come up with a solution to still get that feedback. Another form of communication is sign language. If you can't hear language, you can create a visual language. Deaf communities all over the world have developed sign languages. In the US, the dominant one is American Sign Language. In France, it's French Sign Language. Across the pond in the UK, they have a completely different language, and it makes no sense to me. They call it British Sign Language. So people with disabilities are already doing this. We face challenges, come up with solutions. And we need the rest of the community, the rest of society to recognize that we are talented too. So we can move away from shame and the old idea that people with disabilities have nothing to contribute. Growing up, I felt very shy and isolated, and I could not advocate for myself. It took a while to get to a place where I could finally say, hey, my life matters. I deserve to be here. I remember a particular time in college when I was struggling with that. I went to Lewis and Clark College in Portland, Oregon. It's a small liberal arts school. And the cafeteria at Lewis and Clark served as a central place for students to hang out, relax between classes. When you walk in, along 3 of the walls are panoramic windows showcasing Portland's rain. Along the 4th wall were food stations, and sighted students would walk in, browse a print menu, then go to their station of choice. I couldn't read the menu. Blindness wasn't the problem. Disability is never the problem. The problem was the format of the menu. Thank you for the applause. I went to the cafeteria manager and explained, I can't read the menu because of the format of the menu. Can you provide it in Braille? Or post it online so everyone can read it? Or email it to me? I can read emails and websites using assistive technology. The manager said, we're very busy, stop complaining and be more appreciative. If there's chocolate cake at Station 4 and no one tells me, I'm not feeling appreciative. Back then, I was a vegetarian, and it's hard to eat vegetarian if you don't know what the choices are. There were about 6 different stations. I would go to one at random, get food, find a table, try the food, and discover an unpleasant surprise. It was very frustrating. For the first few months, I just tolerated the situation. I told myself, at least I have food. Lots of people around the world struggle for food. Who am I to complain? My mother, when she was my age, was a refugee in Sudan. At least I was getting an education at a college. Who was I to complain? Lots of blind students at colleges around the United States struggled to get access to their textbooks. My college was actually doing a great job providing me access to my textbooks in Braille. Maybe the manager was right. Maybe I should just be grateful. There are all kinds of barriers in our world, and oftentimes we engage in the oppression Olympics, where we tell ourselves, oh, just put up with it. Just be grateful. Someone else has it worse off than you. That's not helpful. That will not help us create a more inclusive world. If there's a barrier, even a small barrier, we need to do something about it. When we address the small barriers, we develop the skills to tackle the larger obstacles. And I realized I needed to learn to advocate for myself. I did research, talked to advocates, then I went back to the cafeteria manager and told him, the Americans with Disabilities Act prohibits discrimination against students. And if we don't provide access to the menu, I'm going to sue. I had no idea how I would do that. I was just 19. I couldn't afford a lawyer. But I knew I had to do something and try. Now I know there are nonprofit legal centers that will support students with disabilities and help take on civil rights cases. But back then I didn't know that. The next day the manager came and apologized and promised to make the menus accessible. They actually did. The menus started coming on time. Life became delicious. The next year, a new blind student came to the college. He didn't have to fight for access to the menus. That taught me that when I advocate to remove a barrier, even a small barrier, it helps our entire community. The experience inspired me to become a lawyer. In 2010, I entered Harvard Law School. Harvard Law told me we've never had a deafblind student before. I told them I've never been to Harvard Law School before. We didn't know what the solutions would be, but we engaged in an interactive process to find those solutions. It's okay if you don't have the answers, so long as you work to seek the answers. Keep trying. When we're creative and thoughtful, we'll come up with a solution. I graduated in 2013, and I now advocate for people with disabilities. I do public speaking around the world. I also have just written a book that comes out in about 3 weeks. It's called Haben, the Deaf-Blind Woman Who Conquered Harvard Law. And now, if anyone is feeling brave, I would like to invite you to come on stage and ask a question. We have a keyboard on stage. You can type your words, and your words will appear in Braille on my Braille computer. Do we have any questions? Anyone want to come up? Start by introducing yourself and telling me your name. I'm Abiol Agoro from Texas. I wanted to ask, how was your experience as an immigrant, student from an immigrant family at Harvard? I was born and raised in Oakland, California. My parents are from Eritrea and Ethiopia. Because they're immigrants, there were many things they didn't know about the system, like how do you even apply to law school? How do you get scholarships? So there were a lot of unknowns for both my parents and myself. And I reached out to advocates, leaders in the Black community, disability community, immigrant, Eritrean, and Ethiopian community to get as many mentors to guide me through the process. So if you don't have a community in a specific area, build one. Ask questions. There are good people out there who can help. Thank you. What's the biggest struggle you've had to overcome? And what's your name? Isha. So the biggest struggle I've had to overcome is people assuming I can't do something. Yes, I have limited vision and hearing, but that doesn't mean I don't have other skills and talents, or the ability to develop those skills and talents. So all throughout my life, people are like, oh, you can't dance, you can't take surfing lessons, you can't do law school. And I'd had to prove them wrong, which is exhausting. I'd rather have people say, yes, you can. Please join our table. Please join our group. And there are people who say yes. And those are the people who build a more inclusive world. Hi, my name is Karen. I wanted to ask, how was your experience growing up deafblind? I grew up thinking my experience was typical and normal. I think every child thinks that they're the center of the world. Then they grow up and realize, oh, there are different perspectives and different experiences. I also grew up in Oakland, which is a very diverse community.
Yes.
It's also the heart of the disability rights movement. Berkeley was one of the first cities to have curb cuts, so wheelchair users can get on and off the sidewalk and travel around freely. So when I was growing up, I had teachers who already knew about disability rights and who could help me participate in math classes, get books from the Library of Congress so that I could read them in Braille. Outside of the Bay Area, opportunities for deafblind students are extremely limited. Even today, most deafblind students and students with other disabilities struggle to get access to course materials, or even to just enter a building if a building is not wheelchair accessible. And that's not fair. Every student should be able to participate, and we need to remove barriers. And all of you here are leaders and can help remove barriers. So when you go back to your communities, look around and identify barriers. Are there rooms that are not wheelchair accessible? Are there videos that don't have captions for deaf students? And advocate, tell your schools that these barriers need to be removed. Hi, my name is Panella from New York. I wanted to know, how was it like being deafblind and learning how to speak? There's a lot of diversity in the disability community, so everybody who has hearing loss has a different kind of hearing loss. My hearing loss is in the low frequencies, so I intuitively learn to speak in a higher register, so I can hear part of my speech sounds. And I had teachers who would help me with my pronunciation to pronounce words properly. And I've had theater and public speaking courses. As an advocate, voice is a powerful tool, and I wanted to develop my voice to the maximum extent I can to be able to deliver message on inclusion and accessibility. By the way, I think it's really cool how you are public speaking for us today. Absolutely, you're very welcome. Why do you have the dog? And what's your name? Devon. So the dog is a guide dog. He's trained to help guide around obstacles. So when there are stairs, he'll tell me there are stairs. If there's a chair in front of us, he'll walk around the chair. He knows my neighborhood in California, so we walk around our neighborhood on our own. My interpreter is here at this event to assist me, so I've been holding her arm and doing sighted guide. But if she weren't around, then I would be walking with the dog. He has a harness, and when I'm holding his harness, I can feel when he stops, turns left, turns right. All that physical communication comes through the harness. And he went to school for a year in New Jersey to get his training. What's the dog's name? His name is Milo. Have a nice day, and I think you're fantastic. Sorry, this may take a second. I have nails. Hi, I'm Jordan. Loud from Grand Rapids. I'm the vice president. I really love your confidence. And I was wondering, how you first learned to read, right? Was that, yeah, perfect. So I started reading Braille in first grade. The teacher would show me a dot pattern. I'd run my fingers over the dots and feel the letters. Same time everyone else was learning to read print, I learned Braille at the same time. Braille is a tool. It exists in so many different languages. There's Arabic Braille, there's French Braille, Tigrinya and Amharic Braille, and it can be used for music. There's music notation and mathematics. So Braille has been a really powerful tool for me. Only about 10% of the blind community reads Braille, and that's because a lot of teachers think, oh, there's no point in teaching that child Braille because they could just listen on their computer. But that's not literacy. And we need blind people to be literate, to be able to read and write. So we want more teachers to teach students Braille so that everyone has opportunities. Thank you. Hi, Haben. It's Tiffany again. I can't thank you enough for coming to join us for the 110th Annual Convention. This room of young leaders and activists resonated with what you said. And your advice about disabilities not being the problem, but the format being the problem, is what we are taking away. We want this. We want this world to be more inclusive and beautiful and fun for everyone. So thank you. Thank you, Tiffany, and everyone for listening today. All of you have the power to make a difference and remove barriers. Even if it's a small barrier, still address it, because it'll benefit you in the long run. Thank you.